Our linebacker rankings for the 2025 NFL Draft are coming your way today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase.
Good news. I have more of a voice than I did yesterday. So I'm ready to rock and roll. I texted you and said, hey, I can talk. I don't know how long that's going to be the case. Let's do a podcast. Talking linebackers.
Let's hope it continues its upward trajectory and there's no setbacks. Obviously, we need you at full strength next week, man.
Well, you know how it works, right? Like you feel good during the day and then you do a show and then you do another show. And I'm doing like an hour marathon with Travis Wingfield for drive time for Miami Dolphins at 11.
Oh,
so
boy.
I gotta get the lunchtime and we're going to get some herbal tea, some cough drops, some honey, and I'm going to be a mute the rest of the way.
Medicine ball tea from Starbucks. It's not on the menu, but if you go in there and get that, it'll change your life. As somebody who it is free pub, but it's for you.
Thanks, man.
It was worth it. And as somebody who finds myself in this position a lot more often than you do, that's what I go to, and I get through it pretty quick.
So the linebacker class this year, as we get down to business, we're doing a deep dive. It's not very good. There's two attractive names at the top. Everything else after that, like there's some role-specific starters that I see in this year's class. So I did 26 linebackers. Tragically, I watched 26 off-ball linebackers this year. How many of them do you think were below a fourth-round value of 26?
Below a fourth round value?
Yeah, like fifth round and worse.
I'll say half, 13.
16. And I got 5 guys with fourth round grades. So now you're looking at top 100 guys is the feud and the proud, and the 5 out of 26. It's just a group that I don't know. And part of it's the way the college game is projecting to the NFL, and some of it's the style of play you need to be a prolific linebacker in the game right now. I think you got a couple of guys that do it at the top. And we're going to talk top 100 grades that we gave out. I think you got what, 6?
Got 6.
That's all I know. I don't know who made the list. I don't know who made the cut. And I know I got 5. So should I give you my 5 since you went first yesterday, and we'll see what kind of overlap we get here?
Let's do it.
Okay. So I have Jihaad Campbell from Alabama as my linebacker 1 in this year's class. Late 1, early 2 grade there. Also with a late 1, early 2 grade, Carson Schwessinger from UCLA. I am still very much indoctrinated with the game tape of Carson Schwessinger. Just unbelievable game tape. Campbell, little bit more rare of an athlete, I think. Although Schwessinger appears to be a good athlete from the pre-draft testing that we've gotten. My linebacker 3 with a third round grade. I have no firm 2s and I have no firm 1s. It's late 1, early 2s for those top 2. Danny Stutzman, Oklahoma, is my linebacker 3 in this year's class. Really fun, kind of wild man as a stack linebacker. Just behind him, I have Demetrius Knight from South Carolina. Really long, linearly explosive. I think some of the short area and agility stuff is not quite as prolific with Demetrius, but I think he can play downhill, and you get the GPS timing on him when he's got to open up his strides and get in pursuit. And he's up over 20, 21 miles per hour. Like he can really hoof it in straight line situations. And then my linebacker 5, also with a 3rd round grade, my last top 100 grade at the linebacker position is Jeffrey Bassa from Oregon.
All right. We got some similar names. I've got a little bit different order and an extra name to invoke. My number 1 is Jihad Campbell out of Alabama. That's a first round grade for me.
Say.
My number 2 is Carson Schwessinger out of UCLA. That's a late 1, early 2 for me. My number 3 is Demetrius Knight, linebacker out of South Carolina. He's a 3rd round grade for me.
Okay, so we got him in the same bucket.
Now, these next 3 are like late 3, early 4s for me. I have Jeffrey Bassa as my number 4 out of Oregon. And I'll tell you what, I feel like recent players like Overshown, DeMarvion Overshown, and Diane Henley are players that help me feel good about where he can go, to be honest with you. He's interesting. Number 5, I have Powell from Ole Miss, late 3, early 4.
Okay.
And my number 6 with a late 3, early 4 is Danny Stutzman out of Oklahoma. I think he's really good downhill. I worry a little bit about the lateral range and coverage skill, but I think he's an excellent downhill player, smart, instinctive guy. So those would be the top 100 qualifiers for me.
Okay. I'm a little bit lower on Chris Powell. Nickname is Pooh, obviously. It's a unique player. Was really productive this year at Ole Miss behind that loaded front.
Yeah, loaded defense, right?
Life's a little easier, right?
Yeah. We
came into the combine 222 with first percentile arm length and 19th percentile wings. We're just not a big player.
We're not.
Right?
Nope.
And it's one thing to be big and long, or not big, but still be long. He's not big and he's not long. And I think that shows up. And I want to contrast that to Jeffrey Bassa, is the other name that you mentioned there, who's another not big player. He came into the combine at 232. I think he was a little lighter than that at the Senior Bowl. He got a 68th percentile wingspan.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Paul Jr. is sitting here 19%. And I just think when you're not playing behind such a dominant front, the big question that I have with Paul is negotiating blocks and the tackle radius. And he's a good bursty athlete, although he doesn't have the same like 10-yard and like broad jump. Like that, some of his tests indicate like he's an above average athlete, but he's not like a
special one.
Linebacker, right?
Yeah, he's not special, right?
So it kind of just put me in that conflict of, okay, if I remove you from the scheme and the talent that you had in front of you last year, and I try to project you, I think he's a smart football player. I think he's fairly instinctive. Just the play style with the build, I have some concerns with. So I have a early 5 on Paul. Yeah. I like Paul, but he's not one of those players that's knocking on the door for top 100 for me.
Yeah, I understand those limitations. I do. You wish he was bigger. You wish he had more length, and not just like a little bit more. You wish he had a lot of bit more mass and length. I totally acknowledge that you're making a concession there. I'm probably mindful of the team that I root for's tendencies at linebacker. That they drafted Terrell Bernard, who's I didn't even know this until this moment. When you go to mock draftable, that's the number 2 comparison, size and athleticism is Terrell Bernard. Literally very, very similar across the board. Terrell's 2% wingspan, 3% arm length, 5% weight. So I guess that gives me some level of a blueprint. And I think Chris Paul's better negotiating contact than Terrell Bernard is. I think Terrell Bernard's a more instinctive player in coverage, particularly zone coverage, where Chris Paul might be a better man coverage player. So I think those parallels help me buy in a little bit more, but my goodness, he's not going to be for every team. And I think that's going to be true for a lot of these linebackers, even some of the guys that have all the size in the world, not going to be for every team. So I think seeing that blueprint certainly helps me understand the path for Paul.
I want to come back real quick to Bassa because we touched on him. Former safety, playing stack linebacker. The comp that I actually had, I was glad it made me chuckle some of the names that you invoked. Diane Henley was the name that I had down.
It's perfect. Yeah.
I could totally see that role where there's obviously a lot of comfort in coverage, but he has some length, dynamic athlete. And you've seen big safeties that have played safety through college that have made that transition. And Bass is just a little bit more on the front end of that. I think there's a lot of potential there. He's kind of got that rocked up build, but he's somebody you probably are putting away from the formational strength and letting him chase down the ball and we'll do some zone coverage drops. And I think that's the recipe for him.
Hey, listen, I was watching the All-22 with Bassa, and sometimes you gotta find him, and he's playing on the edge, setting. I'm like, what are we doing? Trying to find two on the second level. This guy's playing on the edge. Was a little surprised to see that.
It's a little Jerome Bakery too. Jerome Baker did that at times during the Flores years in Miami as well, and they kind of got a similar build going on too.
Yeah, it's just for me with Bassa, like I really like a lot of it. I think he plays with a little bit too much drift and cushion. It's like, just play tighter, man. I think you know what you're doing. Just go and be a little more confident in it. You don't have to bubble things, like go. And I felt the same way about Diane Henley and DeMarvion Overshown. It's like, all right, if these guys kind of figured that piece out, maybe he can as well. So,
well, and as a former safety, you're used to playing a little softer over the top because you're playing over the top, right? So at least you can make some connections there and feel like that'll click in place.
Yeah. All right, we're getting deeper into the class here on the other side of it, folks. Please be sure to stick with us. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with Game Time, you can be part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when the demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. Here's why I love using Game Time. The last-minute deals. It's a situation where you can literally save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, comedy, theater events, concerts, anything near you, and the all-in pricing is awesome. That means there's no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you pay. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
All right. Where this group goes from here, fascinating. Do you want to get into any more of the Demetrius Knight, Danny Stutzman, Carson, Schwessinger, Jihad, Campbell?
Yeah, it feels so weird to just gloss over the top two guys. I mean, we have done episodes on those players where we gave an entire segment to them. So if you're looking for like a real deep dive, of course, Kyle's got scouting reports on every player on the 33rd team. So make sure you read those. But also we had the collaborative conversations on Campbell and Schwessinger. I would love to get into Demetrius Knight a little bit. He's 25 years old, which is not ideal. And he had some stops, right? Georgia Tech for a long time, then Charlotte, and then this past year at South Carolina, where it's like, okay, yeah, you can do it. You can play. Probably more of a guy that you like in a pressure front. Use him downhill, shallow drops. I don't think you want him to have to be responsible for a ton of real estate and coverage, but in that type of role, like is kind of the contrast Poop Hall to Demetrius Knight, like very different players that I don't think are going to be for everybody. But in that type of a front, I could see Demetrius Knight being a useful player. Like I think about a running mate for Roquan Smith in Baltimore, and I think a player like Demetrius Knight would be perfect for that job.
So Demetrius, all the length in the world.
Yeah.
80.5-inch wingspan is 85th percentile for stack off ball linebacker. This is really long. And he ran sub 4.6. So again, like in the linear situation, so if you want to play him, I think as a plug player, or in some of those pressure fronts where you do move guys around, I think that's a great call out for him. I think he has fair block deconstruction skills. I don't know. I think the jump from South Carolina kind of you saw, and obviously he played at Georgia Tech, so it's not like he didn't play a ton of volume at Georgia Tech, which is why he transferred to Charlotte, and then he got the starting opportunity in big volume, and then obviously this past year at South Carolina. I think some of the diagnostic stuff for him is where I think he can make another leap after having made that change and getting more playing time. But the contrast of that being that he's a 25-year-old rookie is just kind of why he's landing where he's landing. Because I think if you told me this kid was 20 or 21, I'd probably project a lot more. I anticipate there to be more growth in some of these question areas, and he'd probably be up in the second round for me.
All right. You want to kind of work through the guys that maybe are knocking on the door of a top 100?
Yeah, I've got 5 guys with 4s.
Okay.
And then I have 2 more guys with 5s that are the highest 5 I can give.
All right.
So that I'm going to kind of divide that into a tier, and it's 7 guys deep. And a lot of these guys are either what I think can be needle moving hybrid players or very role and scheme specific type of starters at stack backer. So Kobe King from Penn State is my next one with my highest 4. Probably the best block deconstructor in the class in the run game. Don't love him
for sure. Yeah.
Don't love against the pass. Yeah. But this guy's stacking blocks and getting off bodies in the core and tossing offensive linemen around and make plays. He's a beast.
Stay on him for a second. I want to confirm something. If Denzel Perryman can be a preferred NFL starting linebacker literally every single season since 2015, there's a path for a guy like this.
Yeah.
That same type of profile to me.
Yep.
And he was last year. Like, Denzel Perryman was the primary starter for the Chargers last year, the primary starter in 23 for Houston, primary starter for the Ravens or the Raiders 2 years prior. Like, there's a path. There's limitations, but there's a path.
He's just a total wrecking ball coming.
Absolutely. Yeah. It'll be great on teams, I'm sure.
Yeah. And he's mean as hell too, which I love that about him. But you motion him out and he's got to go carry the back out on the perimeter.
No, I'm not doing that.
You're gonna get the
he's no Jordan Brooks.
What's Gruden call it with the QB class? I think it's a truck. We got a truck out here.
Oh, it's a milk call in Buffalo.
Yeah, but it's not for everybody. It's not a milk call. It's just a linebacker out there. It's like, hey, he turns like a truck, so we got a match up here.
All right, yeah.
Shamar James from Florida is my next linebacker with a 4. I have Barrett Carter from Clemson, once upon a time considered to be a possible first-round guy. He also carries a 4. And then I have 2 Martins, not related. Nick Martin from Oklahoma State. He carries a 4 for me. Chandler Martin from Memphis also carries a 4. And then I have Pupal with the early 5, and Sean Dolak from Buffalo carries a early 5 for me as well.
All right, my group here, I have Kobe King, number 7. He's a 4-5 for me. Then I have 5th round grades on Barrett Carter and Smell Mondin out of Georgia.
Okay.
The challenge with that guy is negotiating he had 5 years in a row with some type of like foot injury that's cost him time.
There's a lot of medical tape with Mondin.
It's like, man, I think you're kind of a good player, but I don't know. That's alarming to me. Barrett Carter, and then I have Cody Simon out of Ohio State as a 5-6.
Okay, and I have a 6 on Simon.
Those are the 10 I did. I didn't do Sean Dolak. I know that.
How do you not do Sean Dolak?
Well, because listen, he's part of my last prospect preview series for Locked On Bills, which will drop on Friday. So
you got to save the good content for Locked On Bills.
No, well, here's the reality: is I wanted to do 10 for this episode, and he would have been the 11th guy. And so my analysis for Dolak is coming on Friday's Locked On Bills.
I cannot wait for you to watch Sean Dolak.
I hope I like him, man. It'd be the disappointment of the century. That's happened, though. Remember that receiver Buffalo had that was terrible, but everyone liked?
No.
Running back. Come on, you know this guy.
Oh, yes, I do.
And the linebacker.
It was really evident he couldn't play, though.
Oh, don't. But the production. Johnson's name, Anthony Johnson, couldn't play.
Yeah.
Who's that little running back everyone loved?
Anthony Johnson run like a 4.8?
I think he might have. Who's that little running back a couple years ago? Went to like Washington. Come on. Hodge, the linebacker, couldn't play. It's like, man.
Hodge.
Yeah, it's like I got to stop. We got to chill out with these UB players that everyone likes that I don't think are very good prospects. So
I don't think it was Kadero Hodge.
no, it's Abdul Hodge or something. He was.
Yeah,
We saw him at the Shrine. He was like,
Yeah.
boy, you can't run, can't outrun.
This guy can play.
I'm excited to find that out.
This is the first Buffalo prospect I've been excited about since Khalil Mack. How's that?
You weren't excited about Jamarcus Ingram and Joe Andreessen and Cam Lewis, rostered players on the Bills right now?
No, but the pipeline makes a ton of sense.
They're leaning into it in a big way. It's really happening.
It feels like destiny.
Yeah.
I want to shout out these Martins. Nick Martin from Oklahoma State. Very explosive player, another undersized. So rocked up build, 6'001. So 6 foot, 222 pounds, redshirt junior. Jumped 10-3 in the broad and 38 in the vert with a 4.53 in the 40-yard dash and a 10-yard split of 1.54. So explosiveness out the wazoo. Really productive player on pass rush downs. So there's some hybrid pressure. Didn't get a ton of reps on the edge. He was super productive for Oklahoma State in 2023, but missed time this year. He played less than 400 snaps on defense. I like him more than Paul. And it's not a coincidence that as a player who's at that kind of stature, the guy who I think has the explosiveness that you can lean into and kind of do some more things with as a result. I'm leaning into that, and I think there's an added passing down value for him with what he can do as a pass rusher, where he had 30 pressures in 98 pass rush reps in 2023. Like, gets home, kind of has like a little bit of savvy for how he operates there. Chandler Martin was somebody who kind of came on my radar. I forget which NFL.com person it was, but they put him in the top one, like the first 3 rounds of a 3-round mock draft. And I didn't see him quite like that. But then you watch him on film, 5'1", 233. He's Ivan Pacey for me.
Yeah, that's
as far as the build. He gets downhill in a hurry. He fits the run real hard. I thought he was excellent against the run. Now, he started at East Tennessee State. Played 3 years at East Tennessee State. I don't think he was ranked at all coming out of high school. You get that right. 2-star recruit, excuse me. Played at East Tennessee State, played 3 years and posted 10 starts in 18 games at East Tennessee State. Didn't play really his first 2 years. Has a breakout year there. Goes in the portal. Is first team all AAC in each of his 2 seasons at Memphis. Crazy good tackle production. Respectable missed tackle rate. Missed tackle rate for his career is about 14%. But then this year, again, they found ways to use him in pass rush situations. He had 34 pressures and 122 pass rush reps. So these are these like twitchy, undersized, but can get downhill and fit and have a ton of tackle pursuit and range. If you can provide gap control players in front of them, these are the kinds of guys that I think are the right kinds of athletes to come in and be productive kinds of players.
Future Minnesota Viking.
If they want to get out in front a couple years of not wanting to pay Ivan Pace and just say, hey, we're just going to go get the next one.
It's our guy.
Go get Chandler Martin.
All right, folks, we are going to get into some hypothetical fits here on the other side of it. Please be sure to stick with us. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props from 3-pointers to steals to assists. FanDuel has so many ways to bet on your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. And, folks, they've got Major League Baseball. There's NFL draft prop bets out there that you can check out. So don't miss out. Head on over to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today.
All right.
Cavs Thunder? Is that's going to be the NBA title? You think?
No idea. No clue.
I think those are the one seeds.
I would say there's a better chance of upsets than there were in the college basketball men's tournament because
so.
that was all 4 1 seeds made it to the.
Yeah, I think so.
I bet you don't see the 1 and 2s on either side of the conference championships.
Really, you don't see the 1 or the 2. So Thunder.
No, I think you don't see 1 versus 2 on both sides.
Oh, okay. So
I don't even know who the seeds are. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm looking at this for real time. Thunder and the Rockets are the 1 and 2 on the West.
Yeah,
it's the Cavs and the Celtics. Those feel like the clear best teams in that chunk, right?
You might get it on that side.
What about the Lakers? Don't they got Luka?
Thunder though.
You think someone's going to disrupt the party there? Yeah. I think so too, especially with like the Nuggets. They have players I've heard of. The Lakers have players I've heard of. So, that's probably going to help
the Lakers.
3 seed.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, 3 seed, man.
Interesting.
Yep. All right, here we go, Kyle Crabbs. I've got some practical application for you on these prospects that we've discussed. We'll start with this one. We need a quarterback for our defense, big-time leadership, someone that we trust with a green dot to lead the huddle, get everyone lined up, and be an impact playmaker. Who's the guy?
I think I'm going to go with Demetrius Knight here. The intangibles elements are off the charts, where he was playing at Charlotte and he'd finish playing games, and then he would go do like drive DoorDash to make money to like help feed his baby. I believe he has a daughter, his baby daughter. Somebody with that level of perspective, a little bit of an older player. The maturity I think stands out when you hear him talk in a big way. And then I think with what his play style is, I think he needs to bring that to be the best version of himself, because I don't think he's like a transcendent athlete that's going to do everything and really change the game with his weight in the middle, like you would see like with a Fred Warner or a Roquan Smith. Like he just doesn't move like that, right? So I'll go Demetrius Knight because I know he has that level of maturity to handle that kind of responsibility. And I think it would really benefit him if he's going to be a starter and click to do that.
All right. I like the answer. We need a matchup linebacker. We are prioritizing range, coverage skills. Who do we need to go after?
This is Schwessinger, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a good answer.
Yeah. I've got no qualms about his ability to move and run with anybody. And the way he instinctively is in space, even with the light sample size, give me Carson Schwessinger as your matchup player.
I dig it. Now I'm interested how you answer this one, because you burned a good one. So I don't know if you're limiting yourself to only one guy per answer, but if you are, this might be tricky. We are a pressure front that is going to use our second level players to blitz, but we still need some level of ability to shallow zone drop. Who's our guy?
This is Jihaad Campbell.
Okay, that's true. Yeah, it's smart because you didn't burn him on the first one. It was a good one to holster that one. Yeah.
So Jihad, obviously moved around quite a bit this year in the front, got more time up on the edge. So when your pressure looks, you can play him off the ball. You can line him up on the edge of the line of scrimmage. But he has not just the shallow zone drop capabilities in his game, but if that's really where you asked him to live, I think he would really thrive in that area. So I think Jihaad Campbell's that's as good of a scenario as I could pick for Jihad, knowing that it's a pressure front and he has that exotics ability in his game.
All right. We need a downhill hammer that can fit the run, play off contact. Now, we don't want to a total slug in coverage, but we are definitely prioritizing a downhill presence that's going to make our front more physical. Who should we target?
This should be Kobe King. I'm going to go a little deeper in the well on a day 3 guy, though, because I think there's some upside with this player that we didn't necessarily get a chance to see the full spectrum this past year during his play at Rutgers. I'm going to go with Tyreen Powell from Rutgers. He is big, long, productive, 6'4.5", 239 pounds. Has a lot of length, a lot of physicality, but he suffered a torn Achilles in 2024, in February of 2024, which was his second major injury in 6 months. He had season-ending wrist injury in 2023. So he tore his Achilles in February and then still played 600 snaps this year on defense.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, but when you watched him play, you could tell he was missing the extra gear and juice. So I think he's a little bit more of a developmental kind of guy than a Kobe King. But if you get a little bit further removed from the Achilles injury for Tyreen Powell, I think maybe you'll see a little bit more of I think he has the upside to be a better mover in space than Kobe King is. So if I just want to go with, hey, I want somebody for here and now, and they're going to fill these reps in 2025, I'll go Kobe King. If I want to go a little bit more long-term play, I'll go Tyreen Powell.
All right, last one for you. We want a player who is more of a day 3 prospect, might need a year of seasoning, but we can get special teams impact right now with an opportunity to potentially compete for a job in 2026, or maybe trying to get ahead of a need here. Who gives us some ceiling, but likely a day 3 selection?
I think this is really, to me, where I think there's a lot of sweet spot in this draft class. I mean, between the 5th and 6th round guys, I've got 12 guys with 5s and 6s. And they're guys that all kind of have unique stories and pathways, or at least a majority of them. Tyreen Powell's in this bucket of players. Kane Medrano from UCLA, who's really undersized. I don't think is going to give you a great deal of appeal against the run, but is a plus athlete to play in pass coverage and just a special teams demon. But he came in at the Shrine at 219, right? So we got to put some weight on the frame. I think Teddy Buchanan from Cal is another name that stands out to me. 6'2", 233, was a very productive player this past year at Cal. He started his career, but he played 4 years at UC Davis, and then got to Cal this year, and they actually moved him around more, let him play more up on the edge. He's got a career missed tackle rate of 7%. And that includes the year at Cal. His year at Cal this year was 9% missed tackle rate. But he had 8 interceptions in his 3 seasons as a starter at UC Davis. He was an efficient player against the pass at Cal this past year. 25 pressures and 97 pass rush opportunities at Cal. The consistency of everything, though, is where there's a lot of room to grow, and it's obviously 1 year playing at the Power 5 level, and now you got to make another leap. So I'll go with Teddy Buchanan. I'll go with Kane Medrano. I could go with Nick Kubitz from North Dakota State, who had just crazy pro day numbers. I hope it's okay that I did the Joe Marino special and gave you a bunch of answers there.
I like it. Kind of brings this conversation to a good close based on the way we started it, and kind of poo-pooed on it and said, hey, maybe there's some guys that give them some seasoning can help you in a certain way.
Yeah, midday 3, you're going to be a kid in a candy shop picking linebackers this year. So that's going to do it for us here on Locked on NFL Scouting. Kyle Crabbs, Joe Marino. We appreciate you guys as always checking the show. Keep an eye out for Joe Marino soliciting your takes for Takes on Takes coming tomorrow, and we hope to see you then.